So this recording will get sent to everyone who attended. I just want to say thank you to begin. Really appreciate you guys signing up and attending the webinar. We have a really great couple of speakers today that I'm really excited to get to give a platform to speak about our program. So I'll do a brief introduction before I hand it over to them. So here at World Services for the Blind, we believe that assistive technology is more than just tools and software. So it is a gateway to independence, empowerment, and opportunity, which is our whole motto and platform that we stand on. Our program equips people with these skills to teach individuals how to effectively use a wide variety of this technology. So this fosters confidence and autonomy in the blind and visually impaired community and beyond. So students will receive comprehensive training that prepares them for impactful careers in instruction and accessibility, as we'll hear more from Heather and Maurice. So I'd like to introduce our speakers, Heather and Maurice. So Heather has been with us for a while now. Her journey to where she is now is one of resilience and reinvention. So from a promising legal career to overcoming life-altering challenges, she has transformed personal adversity into a passion for empowering others. Now she's full-time with us at the WSB as Director of Education and Training, and she's committed to guiding students towards their own aha moments of independence and success. Maurice is a little newer. He joined us in early 2024, and he brings with him a deep sense of empathy and curiosity about the intersection of multiple disabilities. So as an ATI here, he's dedicated to understanding the unique challenges his students face and helping them navigate technology to achieve their goals. So today, everyone will notice that you are coming in muted. I want to give Maurice and Heather time to talk about the program. If you do have questions, please go ahead and drop those in the chat. And at the end, we'll have a short Q&A section, and we'll go through those questions in the chat. And I'll make sure that Maurice and Heather address anything you guys want answered. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Maurice and Heather. And thank you guys once again.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we're excited that you're here to learn more about our assistive technology instructor training program. As you'll learn as we go through this webinar, WSB offers 2 tracks of our assistive technology instructor program, which is available both online and on campus, although we're going to be focusing a little more on the on-campus program today. But the first track of the program is our basic assistive technology instructor track, which is going to cover a wide variety of assistive technology topics and includes teaching certifications in the 4 Microsoft Office applications, as well as JAWS, Zoom Text Fusion, and NVDA. Then if you are interested in pursuing the ACVREP CATIS certification, there is a second and more advanced track that you would go into after you graduate from the first track of the Assistive Technology Instructor Program that will focus specifically on the 4 core domain areas that are covered for CATIS certification and will meet your education eligibility requirements for Category 3 certification. And we can answer some more detailed questions about the difference between those 2 tracks and some of the eligibility for certification requirements for ACVREP. However, I'd like to ask Maurice to talk a little bit about what the Assistive Technology Instructor Program entails, as well as what a day in the life of an ATI on campus looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to start with the latter. So a day in the life of a student instructor, once you get through what we call the pre-vocation program here on campus, where we ensure that your skills are sharp enough to be successful in any program, but especially the ATI program. And the reason for that is because all of the skills that you're going to gain from an AT standpoint are just going to be built upon and gone into in further depth during the ATI program. So once you enroll as a student instructor here, there are a host of different documents and just onboarding and on-ramp that we go through just to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what you're signing up for and what the responsibilities that go along with being a student instructor here on campus are. You gain an understanding of what confidentiality is, what's expected of you on campus here as a student instructor, and really just getting a sense of how student instructing is going to go. So once you get through that and you begin your program, in the morning time here on campus is when you do your student instructing, and when you start to accumulate your teaching hours, which when you're finished with this program, you will have amassed at least 350 hours of student instructing. And so for first through fourth hours here on campus is when you will have your direct one-on-one instructing, where I, as the program instructor, will be observing you student instruct your clients here on campus, and be able to give you direct feedback on a daily basis, directly after fourth hour is over. And that's during our fifth period, where I conduct case management, and you're able to ask questions about your particular client that you're dealing with, and give you that feedback for instruction for yourself. After that, we go to lunch, and we give what I believe to be a substantial break from the morning teaching, about an hour. And then in the afternoons is when you get to become a student again. I like to look at it as, in the morning time you wear a teacher hat, and in the afternoon time you put back on your student hat. And so that's when we get to go through the curriculum here, all of your coursework for the ATI program. So you really get a good sense of everything it takes to be prepared to be successful in the workforce as an instructor. Would you like for me to go through kind of some of the topics that were covered? Yeah. So once I got here, there are a lot of things, of course, that you don't know, and for some it can seem somewhat daunting and overwhelming. But just like my instructor and our instructors before us, we do our best to reassure you that we bite this apple one bite at a time. So at the beginning, you'll go through things on how to write a lesson plan, what writing a report looks like, what things like VRs are looking for. Because honestly, if you have no experience in this realm, you're going to have no earthly idea of what that looks like. We stress things like document, because if you don't document it, it did not happen. And so we really make sure that you're equipped from that standpoint. And so we try to split it up in the afternoon time to work on stuff like that, to actually giving you skills, like Heather mentioned, for your certifications. So we'll go through Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, along with those other certifications, along with topics like multiple disabilities. Because as we understand, it's not just being visually impaired or fully blind that we're going to be dealing with in the job, in the workforce, but people with maybe intellectual disabilities or speech disabilities that might impede their ability to use just a screen reader. So we also have a whole unit on the human eye, and the ability to read an eye report, because understanding any of your prospective clients' visual acuity, or if their visual impairment is going to get worse. Those are the types of things that we need to understand as instructors to best serve our clients. So I firmly believe, upon my graduation, that my situation was a little bit different, but I firmly believe that I was confident that I could tackle anything when graduating from WSP. So yeah, that's what I got so far.
Awesome. So a couple of distinctions between the online program and the on-campus program that I think are important for people to take into consideration when they're determining how they want to do this program. Typically in the online program, we do rolling admission, and so people start at different times throughout the year and are therefore moving through coursework at different times and different paces. In the on-campus program, the students are operating in more of a traditional cohort like you might see in a college or any other technical training program, where everybody that's in the class is moving through each topic as a whole. So instead of maybe only having one or two other people in your program that are in the same place as you would actually be going through that material and the assignments and the discussions, not only side by side with your instructor on a daily basis, but also kind of have that classroom collaboration of all the other people that are in your class. Another significant difference that I'd like to point out is that you are getting to actually operate in this classroom environment. So in a place like World Services for the Blind, where we do not only the career training, but the pre-vocational assistive technology instruction. Yes, all the instructors are working one-on-one with their student, but in this setting, you have a classroom with potentially 5 or 6 students and multiple instructors that are all working within the same classroom. So you kind of get the chance to see how a classroom in a larger organization or agency like this works versus the one-on-one kind of individualized or over Zoom assistive technology instruction.
Yeah, and to sort of just add to what Heather said, as far as the on-campus experience goes, I mean, we really do our best, like I mentioned at the beginning, to make sure individuals are ready to enter a vocational program and a vocation shortly thereafter that. I mean, we can get into what the hiring rate of assistive technology instructors is out there, but it is no shock or surprise to us that there is a huge market for instructors these days. And so coming on campus, I think, just having to force yourself, out of the comfort of your home, but into an environment where you get to, practice getting ready for a job every day. Some people really benefit from practicing those soft skills and just getting themselves equipped to enter the workforce. So um, I really value myself the on-campus experience here for that very reason. I think before choosing which lane you would like to go through, online or on campus, I think it's just a matter of just asking yourself some questions about how you learn best. A lot of our online students are really good at being self-starters and really engaging that initiative and things like that. Whereas on campus, you do benefit from, like Heather said, having that collaborative element in the room. In addition to that, I would say you have access to a number of different, technologies here on campus that you may or may not have it just in the comfort of your own home. So yeah, I would say that it would just be a matter of knowing just what would best suit you. I don't think there's a one size fits all model. I think there are some things that, for obvious reasons, being in person, we can offer here on campus, but we do our best to replicate the experience for our online students.
Absolutely. And for people particularly who are interested in pursuing that second more advanced track of the program and pursuing the CATIS certification, part of the requirements for that are that you know how to work within different disability areas and you understand how to work with different types of technology that may not specifically be related to the field of blindness. Certainly, if you were a CATIS working in a school district, you would often find yourself on a multidisciplinary team where you might be working with a speech language pathologist or an occupational therapist or a physical therapist, and you're dealing with a child who has multiple disabilities that you're trying to address besides just the visual impairment. And we've been very fortunate here at WSB to get some grants over the last year that have allowed us to put a lot of some of that kind of alternative assistive technology equipment into our assistive technology lab. So here on campus, we have access to lots of different types of technology that you can actually get your hands on and practice working with. Everything from a variety of refreshable braille displays to some AAC or alternative and augmentative communication devices. We also have the ability to work on a Chromebook, a Windows computer, or a Macintosh computer that's running the iOS system. And so, like I was saying, you really get a chance to kind of play around with some of those other types of technology rather than just reading about them. Because certainly we don't anticipate that people who are working in the online environment be able to provide that sort of equipment for themselves. Also in the on-campus class, we've been able to develop, with the help of some of our volunteers and our assistive technology instructors here on campus, a variety of tactile graphics and layouts that you're able to use to teach your students that really kind of help put into perspective what you're trying to explain to someone is on the screen or give them something that they can actually tie into what they're feeling versus what the screen reader is announcing. And that's a different way of learning how to instruct somebody. And when you're potentially going to be working with clients with different learning modalities and different needs as far as being able to retain and master concepts, being able to exercise and utilize these different types of teaching methods and teaching devices and assistance and supports can really be beneficial, especially if you're somebody who would like to go and work for an organization or an agency similar to WSB, where you might be working in a full classroom of students. And I think based on both of our experience going through the assistive technology program here, and I was a former assistive technology instructor here, and now Maurice was in that same position, but I think we can both say that at the time we graduated and we stepped into these roles, we felt fairly confident in our ability to handle a classroom, and it wasn't something that was completely foreign and scary to us when we walked into that first day at work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to speak even more to what Heather's saying, like we, not only me as an instructor, but we here at WSB, we do our best to stay sensitive to people's different learning styles. And for those of you who decide to come here on campus or to the Assistive Technology Instructor Program in general, you're going to get that sense as well. Not only to be able to identify individuals' different learning styles, but how to make sure that your learning environment is one that's dynamic, that is inclusive of all those styles. And so being able to assess with those different disabilities and different technologies, like Heather was saying, there's a whole set framework for just, again, doing a further assessment of everything that kind of goes into an individual's learning environment. So towards the end of the curriculum, we have a whole unit on how you as an instructor, once you're done and you're in the field, you would write an equipment recommendation, for instance. And you're able to assess and evaluate what all the needs of a particular client are, and everything that's going to go into what their goals are, what they're trying to pursue, and how to best recommend to their VRs everything that they're going to need to be successful. So it's the curriculum. I would say your coursework is very comprehensive, and it just we just can't speak enough to how well we feel equipped. All biases aside. I mean, so yeah.
Absolutely. And I know we're getting kind of close to down to time, and I want to leave plenty of time to answer some questions. But just going off of some of the topics of interest that people put down at registration for this webinar, I'm anticipating that a lot of you have questions about the CATIS certification process, including what that second track of the program covers. Just to give kind of a brief description, it's a more advanced look at what you would have been doing in the 9 to 12 months that you spent in the first track of the assistive technology instructor program. So as Maurice was talking about, learning the STEP framework and learning how to do equipment recommendations in the CATIS preparation portion of the program, you're taking that a step further. You're learning about other frameworks that are used in different organizations or for different purposes, how you can take things from each of those assessments to get the most accurate assessment on your client, depending on what your client's individual needs are. You're going to learn the process of doing a formal assistive technology assessment, where you're not only interviewing a client and talking to them, but you might be interviewing parents, caregivers, educators, other therapists or professionals that person may be working with, in reviewing even old records, previous training, and things like that, to formulate your formal recommendation that can include everything from the actual assistive technology devices that person is going to be using, but also setting up a training plan. And that can be everything from just saying that this person needs instruction in these areas, and so this is the next thing you need to focus on, down to actually writing a series of lessons or a curriculum for that individual client. You're also going to take a really deep dive into looking at the other disability areas besides visual impairment, getting familiar with common devices that are used within those assistive technology areas, and how you can incorporate those with I'll call it the blind tech that is currently out there. And that's going to include a pretty foundational look at information technology systems as well, so that you know how to recommend devices that will in fact work together or that can be made to work together. And then you're also going to be learning a lot about the principles of universal design and universal design for learning, along with the professional development requirements for maintaining your certification, and where you can find a lot of those resources as you go forward. So I do want to leave time for plenty of questions. Is there anything else you wanted to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing about, again, when you step on campus here at WSB for the ATI track, via our WSB first, or and if you decide to do CATIS next or not. I mean, so the first thing that's going to happen when you step foot in my classroom is either myself or a student instructor is going to do your initial intake. And so from that initial intake to the time that you finish your pre-vocation program from an AT standpoint, once you enter the program, I'm able to say something, just to put it very succinctly and to synthesize this, I'm able to basically say, okay, remember what you experienced from day one? Now you get to do that to someone else. So you're really witnessing and observing the entire experience. Now you get to replicate and do the same. Of course, with some very one-on-one guidance from myself along the way. And you'll definitely get the tools like we mentioned earlier on what that actually looked like on a granular level. But really, you get a really good sense of how all of the ins and outs going from client to student instructor to full-on instructor really works, and what that looks like. So I can't speak enough about stoking your curiosity, really getting that appeased coming on campus versus online in that regard.
Absolutely.
So we do have one question that looks like maybe in the chat. So someone asked, after completing the CATIS program, should we consider going for a master's degree?
That would really be up to you and what you think you would need for the job that you were hoping to get. So as a part of the eligibility criteria for the CATIS certification, there are 3 different paths that you can go down: category 1, 2, or 3. Our program meets the eligibility criteria for category 3 CATIS eligibility, which does not require you to have a college degree or a master's degree. If you wanted to be able to go in as a category 1 or category 2 candidate, then yes, that would require a master's degree. But as far as what the requirements are going to be and what you should or shouldn't do, really it's going to depend on the type of job that you're trying to get into and what those job requirements are going to be. However, whether you go in as a category 1, 2, or 3, everybody takes the same certification exam. Everybody is tested on the same knowledge base and abilities within those 4 core domain areas. And so I would say that there's really no difference between the certification as far as levels and what category you come in. Someone who receives their CATIS certification is a CATIS, no matter how they got there.
If there are no more questions, we can start to wrap up. If anyone does have a question and they'd like to, oh, we have another one, I'm sorry. Does WSB emphasize Socratic questioning as a part of the course?
I would say no. Having come from a law school background where they only did the Socratic method, I would not say that we focus on that type of instruction. And in fact, and Maurice, feel free to tag in on this, but as part of teaching different learning styles and different teaching modalities, I think what we focus on is actually exercising a variety of teaching methods and addressing different learning styles. And so there's not one particular way that is a focus or isn't a focus or is right or wrong.
Yeah, and to speak a little bit further to that, even though, like, say if you have someone who is really primarily an audio learner, even if that's their preferred or best learning style, it's still important to incorporate, a kinesthetic learning style, a tactile learning modality, and maybe even um, excuse me, my brain is escaping me, but my point is it's important to employ all these things so that you can speak to all parts of a person, so that the information gets hammered home that much more. In my classroom, this is how we instruct. I do my best to execute what I call the I do, we do, you do method. Really giving them, because it's really important. It is good to have an established knowledge base and a comprehensive understanding of everything you need to know. But in terms of knowing things, it's best that you know how to find out. Because as we all understand, technology is a moving target, and there's always advancing technology. So knowing how to find out from that standpoint, but as an instructor, becoming an instructor, it's important that you know how to actually do the tasks and skills that you're teaching your clients how to do. And so with that method, I think it's really, I think I can safely say it's pretty foolproof. That if you can do it, you can do it with your client as a team, and then you can independently give them the skills, they can do it themselves. We employ that same method in the coursework in the afternoons as well.
And it looks like we have one more question. Ooh, maybe a couple more. So one person wants to know, while on the CATIS track, can I intern back in my home state, or would it be better to stay in Alaska?
So as part of getting your CATIS certification done, there's a variety of eligibility criteria that you will have to meet. The training that you're provided with through the WSB program is one component of that education or that eligibility criteria. Another part of that is the 1,500 teaching hours that are required of Category 3 applicants. Out of that 1,500 hours, 350 of those hours have to be an internship that is supervised by an existing CATIS. ACVREP has clarified that 350-hour supervised internship must be done after you have completed your education. And that would be true of the Category 1 and Category 2 applicants that are going through the university aspect of things, or our program is that you have to finish your education and then you get to do your supervised internship. ACVREP has further clarified that the 350-hour supervised internship has to be done separate and apart from your training institution. So whether that's us or a university somewhere, those internship hours and how you're delivering those hours will have to be done under a separate organization, employer, or through clients that you set up on your own. Also, you will have to be supervised by a CATIS who is not an employee of WSB. And again, that's a requirement for all three categories of eligibility. And it's just to make sure that people are getting well-rounded experience and education before they actually sit for the CATIS certification exam. So to answer your question, regardless of whether you decide to return to your home state or you find an employment opportunity here in Arkansas, that supervised internship will have to be done separate and apart from WSB.
Thank you so much, Heather. So another question we have here is, I've heard that there may be changes to CATIS soon. Do you know anything about these changes or how WSB's courses will change to meet the new requirements?
So the clarifications that I just outlined is an update that we've gotten within the last 6 weeks from ACVREP. If there are any further changes coming down the pipe, those have not been communicated as of yet. I do not anticipate that there's going to be major changes that are going to affect our curriculum, as those 4 core domain areas and the knowledge base that's included in that are going to stay the same, even if some of the specifics of getting to the eligibility requirements are adjusted. But of course, we will adjust our program as is needed to meet the demands of that knowledge base that you'll need for certification.
Alrighty, and it looks like this is our final question. And they would like to know, would you be able to provide a list of all of the technical equipment used throughout the training so those who take the online course might get some of them to work with?
I mean, yeah, we can certainly kind of, or at least provide a general list of the types of equipment that we talk about. There's a million different versions of all the different devices, whether it's a CCTV, a video magnifier, a refreshable braille display. I mean, we can certainly give you a list of the types of equipment that are going to be covered. And then, within that, there's kind of a lot of different directions that you can go. So I think that actually kind of circles back around to what Maurice was talking about, in that it's impossible for us to teach or anyone to know how to use every device that's out there or even know about every device that's out there. So it's really about, do you know how to find the information? Can you do the research? And can you teach yourself so that you can then turn around and teach your client?
Because I mean, and this may or may not be a part of what was underneath that question, but if I can speak frankly, if someone is trying to just stockpile different assistive technology so they can equip themselves from home, it, it's going to be a good amount of money to do so because assistive technology, as we understand, isn't all that cheap.
Generally, no. And part of one of the things that is covered in the second advanced portion of the program is some of the resources for getting your hands on assistive technology equipment that is a little different state to state, but every state has kind of an assistive technology repository, as it were. And so there, you may be able to get in contact with your state through your VR counselor in your state's tech lab. And that would actually be my first recommendation, is to see if you can make arrangements to make a trip by your state's technology lab and look at all the equipment that they have on site, because that'll probably be your best resource for laying hands on some equipment without going to a great deal of expense.
All right, thank you both. And I was just about to say, someone just asked if we have more questions, where can we ask? I would say feel free to email me, and I can get you in contact with whoever can answer your question. So my email you'll find is the email that sent you the invite to this Zoom meeting. So if you do walk away from the meeting and decide, oh, I forgot to ask something, yeah, feel free to email me, and I'll get you in contact with who can answer your question. Just want to say thank you again to everybody for attending, and thank you, Heather and Maurice. Um, it's been a pleasure. And once again, feel free to email me. Also, this recording, I will do my best to get this out tomorrow. So that's going to be my